The morning sun peeked through the trees, casting golden rays across the dewy meadow. Peter Rabbit twitched his nose nervously as he stood at the edge of the forest, staring at the path that led to the unknown. Today wasn't just any day. It was the day he had to prove that he could lead. For weeks, the younger rabbits had followed him in games and mischief, but now, with Farmer McGregor's garden more challenging than ever and a big storm threatening to ruin their homes, Peter's courage was about to be tested. "We can do this," he whispered to himself, though inside, doubt nibbled at his confidence like a persistent mouse. But as he looked back at the eager faces of his friends, Benjamin, Lily, and little Flopsy, he felt a spark of determination. They were counting on him, and he couldn't let them down. The story of Peter leading the way had begun, and every step forward was a heartbeat in their shared adventure. The path ahead was lined with brambles, and the wind carried the scent of rain. Peter had planned this journey carefully, mapping the safest route to the other side of the forest where shelter and food awaited. But as the first few drops fell, hesitation crept into the group. Benjamin's whiskers trembled, and Lily's ears drooped. "I'm scared," Lily admitted, her voice barely louder than the rustle of leaves. Peter crouched down to her level, his eyes steady and warm. "I'm scared too," he said honestly. "But fear doesn't mean we stop. It means we keep going, together." The group nodded, feeling strength in Peter's words. With each careful hop over fallen branches and narrow streams, Peter led with a mix of courage and wisdom, showing that leadership wasn't about being fearless. It was about guiding others even when your own heart raced. By the time they reached a safe clearing, the rain had slowed, and the first lesson was clear. Leadership begins with trust, and trust begins with honesty. But the challenges didn't end there. As the forest darkened with heavy clouds, they heard the distant roar of a river swollen by the storm. Their path was blocked, and panic threatened to take hold. Little Flopsy whimpered, imagining a torrent that could sweep them away. Peter's mind raced. He remembered the old fallen log near the creek, sturdy and long enough to act as a bridge. "We can do this," he said, more confidently this time, "if we work together." One by one, the rabbits helped each other across, tails brushing and paws gripping. There was a moment when Peter slipped and his heart skipped, but Benjamin grabbed his paw, steadying him. In that instant, Peter realized that leadership wasn't just guiding. It was leaning on your friends as much as they leaned on you. They crossed safely, hearts pounding but spirits soaring. And as they looked back at the roaring river, they understood the second lesson. Bravery is strongest when shared to be why nightfall. The group had reached a cozy hollow beneath a giant oak. They were tired, wet, and hungry, but Peter felt a swelling pride. The storm had tested them, but each challenge had strengthened their bond. Around the small fire they managed to build, Peter shared his thoughts. "Today, we learned that fear is natural, but hope is stronger. We learned that we can lean on each other, and that even the smallest rabbit can lead when they care for their friends." Lily smiled, and Flopsy nestled close, sleep tugging at her eyes. Benjamin nodded, a newfound respect shining in his gaze. Peter, too, felt transformed, not just a rabbit who wanted to lead, but one who had truly led. And as the fire crackled and the wind hummed outside, the promise of tomorrow felt bright. The first chapter of their adventure had ended, but the story of Peter leading the way was only beginning. Dawn broke with a soft glow, and Peter woke to the sound of birds singing triumphantly in the rain-cleansed forest. Today, the path ahead would be different. They faced the final stretch, the wide meadow that separated their forest from the farmland, where danger and opportunity awaited. Peter gathered his friends and reminded them of the lessons they had learned. "We've come so far, together. No matter what we face, we have each other. Let's show the world what we can do." His words were met with determined nods and twitches of ears. As they hopped toward the meadow, Peter noticed signs of the farmer's new traps, designed to catch any wandering rabbit. The challenge was real, and this time, cleverness mattered as much as courage. Using his wits, Peter guided the group through hidden paths, avoiding the traps with careful observation and quick thinking. Every twist and turn tested them, but Peter's steady heart inspired confidence. He wasn't just leading. They were following with trust, hope, and courage. Halfway through the meadow, they encountered a trapped bird tangled in a net. The group froze. This was unexpected, a distraction, and time was critical. Peter's mind raced, and then he acted. Using sticks and careful movements, he freed the bird, who chirped gratefully and flew above them as if offering encouragement. We can't ignore those in need, Peter reminded his friends, his voice firm but gentle. The act strengthened them, showing that leadership also means compassion, even in the midst of your own challenges. The rest of the journey tested every lesson they had learned: courage, trust, cleverness, and kindness. By the time the forest's edge met the golden fields of the farmland, the rabbits were exhausted but exhilarated. They had faced fear, navigated danger, and chosen kindness above all to the top of the hill. Peter paused and looked back at the path they had conquered. Every soaked paw, every frightened heart, every uncertain step had led them here. His friends looked at him with awe, and Peter realized something deeper than pride. He felt gratitude. Gratitude for the friends who had followed, for the lessons learned, and for the chance to lead with heart. "We did it," he said softly, and the group echoed the words, their voices blending with the morning breeze. In that moment, Peter understood that leadership wasn't about being first, strongest, or fastest. It was about guiding, caring, and inspiring others to be their best selves. As they hopped down into the farmland, ready for new adventures, Peter's heart swelled with hope. The storm was behind them, but the story of Peter leading the way would ripple through the forest for generations, a reminder that courage, compassion, and trust can light the darkest path.